Hi, I'm Mikaela, and this is Love Mikaela, a podcast where I talk about literally anything and everything I want to. Today, I want to talk about something that has quickly become very near and dear to my heart, which is the K-drama True Beauty. This K-drama, I I'm late. I'm late to the train, the bus, whatever you want to call it. It came out 2020, I think, or 2021. I think 2020 or end of 2020 into 2021. I don't know. I just know, like, I was watching some of the behind the scenes and they were talking about how they had to film like with COVID precautions, so obviously it was like very prevalent at the time. So I'm honestly kind of surprised that this even like was made and was made as well as it was. But yeah, I love it. I love this drama so much. It has quickly become an all-time favorite of mine. Like it's on my all-time favorites list along with Extraordinary You, which I still haven't talked about. I need to. And Strong Woman Do Bong Soon, which I also still haven't talked about and need to. But I need to rewatch both of those so I can like do them justice. So I just haven't done that yet. And I wanted something new. I needed like a drama I could watch on my own, and like there's so much hype around True Beauty, and I like didn't really want to get into it because I was like, what if it's overhyped? Like, what if I actually don't like it? And so I just like didn't get into it because everyone's like True Beauty or My ID is Gangnam Beauty. I think that's what the other one is called. It's like kind of a similar concept. It's not like a super new I mean it is, but there's like a lot of other dramas that also have this kind of idea that's focused on like appearances and beauty standards, because I mean it's prevalent everywhere, but it's heavily prevalent in like Korea and Japan. But Korea, it's like really prevalent, at least from what I've heard people say who have gone. I've never been, so I wouldn't know firsthand. But from what other people say, it sounds like it's a very like prevalent thing. And I just wasn't sure if I was going to like it, and so I kind of avoided it for a while. But I needed something fun and cute because I wanted something to watch on my own. I didn't expect to like it this much. Like I thought it would last me like a good couple of weeks. Like it would take me a while to get through. It didn't. I think it took me 3 or 4, not three. Three is a stretch. I think it took me about a week just because I like work. If I wasn't working, I could have gotten through it in like 3 days. I love it. I like did not want to stop watching it. Every time I had to stop to like shower or go cook food or clean or whatever I had to do. Yeah. Also just want to say I am dealing with a throat issue. I feel like I'm always dealing with an issue at this point. I'm not sick, but you could probably hear it in my voice. My voice sounds really tired. I don't really have any symptoms other than my throat being like a little bit sore, and not even sore, it's like scratchy. And I have like a cough that comes and goes sometimes. Um, and I mean, I always have nose stuff going on because I always have like sinus issues and allergies. So that's not really new, but that definitely doesn't help the throat thing. Anyway, I've talked about that for too long. Just so sorry if my voice doesn't sound the way that it normally does. It's because I'm dealing with like a throat thing right now, and I have been dealing with it for like a hot minute. So I honestly should go to the doctor. I might not. But yeah, I've been dealing with it for a hot minute, so you might have heard it in some of my other videos as well. Yeah, but just heads up, a reminder, I guess. I don't think I mentioned it in my last video because I was like, oh, it'll be fine. It still hasn't gone away, so it is what it is. Anyway, let's talk about True Beauty. So I'm just gonna read the synopsis. It's been pulled, just like from online, like if you look up what it's about. So it says, based on the line webtoon of the same name by the author who I'm so sorry, there's no way I'm gonna pronounce this. I'm gonna put it like here, maybe. And it centers on a high school girl who, after being bullied and discriminated against because of being perceived as ugly, masters the art of makeup to transform herself into a gorgeous goddess. And they put goddess in quotes because they literally call her like the goddess of the school, when she shows up at the school. Okay, I'm going to talk about the things I liked. No spoilers right now. I'll warn you when it's spoiler time. Okay, cool. The casting for the show is literal perfection. Like it's actually perfect. I don't know how they found these people. I mean, they're not like unknown. Most of them are not unknown people, but I don't know how they like found them and like exactly who fit these characters. I don't know how they found them. I don't know how long it took them to find them. I don't know how the casting process was, if they reached out to people first or if they held open auditions for something. I don't know how any of it worked, but whoever cast this, you deserve an award. Like, it is so perfect. And that's not to like belittle the work of the actress, but like I'm an actor myself. So like you like people don't realize how much work goes into acting. Um a lot of work goes into it. But not to belittle what they did, but the people who cast this, it's literally so perfect. I can't, okay, I should clarify. I have not fully read the webtoon. I skimmed through it. I read the first 2 chapters and then I skimmed through the like what I could go through until I had to like wait until like on the webtoon app, you have to like wait another 24 hours before you can read the next chapter, something that's already been completed unless you want to like pay for it. So I skimmed through like what I could after the first, I think 2 episodes of the webtoon. Um, the intro for the show shows the pictures of the characters, and then the like for the 3 main I think no they're for the 3 main characters it shows like a picture of the comic and then like them like as part of the intro, which I loved and I'll talk about more later. But I wasn't sure if those were like drawn specifically for these actors or if it was actually from the webtoon. But it is actually from the webtoon. I haven't fully read the webtoon, so I can't like fully speak on how close it is to the webtoon. But in terms of the story that we're presented with just as the viewer of the show, the casting for this is so perfect. There is not one misstep in any of the casting that I could see. I watched the whole series all the way through, and then I rewatched the first 1.5 episodes. I'm just rewatching it again. Like sometimes I do that. If I really like something, I'll go back and rewatch it. And then sometimes like if a part gets like a little bit not boring, but it's like, oh, this was important to tell the story, but it's not like an exciting part. I might like skip through it a little bit and then watch the stuff that I really liked. The casting for this was perfect. Going off of looks, which is good. Sometimes you get people who are only good for the looks, or like they only fit the looks of the character, or they only fit the personality of the character. That was not the like just in general, not just in dramas, but in Western media a lot as well. Everyone fit their characters so well. Like looks, like they looked perfect, which means wardrobe was on point because obviously that plays a part. Hair and makeup was on point, that plays a part. They like not just the looks though, it was also the mannerisms, their personalities, the way that they played these roles. It was so perfect. Literally everyone from top to bottom, the 3 main characters, all of the main girl's family, all of like her teachers, her friends, like the fellow classmates, the bullies even, like the father of the male lead, like it was perfect. It was literally perfect. I have no complaints about anyone in this cast. It is so good. They did such a good job, and the actors, of course, did a good job bringing the characters to life as well. But like the casting was just, it was perfect. It was so good. I was so happy with it. It was insane. The acting is immaculate. It is so good. Are there moments where you can see someone's a little bit dead-eyed? Yes, that happens. That happens sometimes. Again, if you have never acted in your life, especially for on camera, and you've never done that before, you don't understand how much work goes into it. You're gonna be like, they need to be at 100%. Like it should always be good all the time. That's not how it works. Sometimes your best performance was at the wrong angle for the camera, and so they use your second best performance, and so it's not as good, but it's the right angle for the camera. Sometimes the camera has to move a certain way, and your best performance of this particular moment in the scene, the camera movement is off, and so they can't use it. Like there's so many things. Sometimes the lighting's off. Sometimes your performance was weak, but the other person in the scene's performance with you was like so good, and they're a more important character in that moment, and so they're gonna go with that performance over yours. Like it's there's so many things that go into it, and also like you don't want to do too many takes, of course, also, but like maybe your last take was your best one, but your scene partner's first take was their best one, and they're the main character and you're a supporting character in this particular scene. They're gonna go with the first take over your last take. Like it's just you don't have control over which take is used. So like I'm talking with my hands a lot, maybe too much. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do. Acting on camera and like not that acting on a stage or like theater is not an art form and art itself, like it is. Like I've done that too. That's really hard and easy. It's harder and easier in its own ways, as on camera acting is harder and easier in its own ways. But on camera acting, like you're doing the same things over and over that you already have memorized. Your movements have to be this, I mean they don't have to, but it makes it easier for editing purposes. Like, they have to generally be the same. Your movements have to be the same. Your eyeline has to be the same. The way you say words has to be as similar as you can get it. Like, you try not to mix words up, your lines up. You memorize all the stuff. So you're doing it very technically, but you have to make it look extremely natural, and you're doing it over and over and over again because they have to get it from different angles. They have to get a wide, they have to go in close, they have to get your coverage, they have to get the other person's coverage. Sometimes actors don't sit in for their other people's coverage, which I think is kind of not cool because you're acting off the other person, so it makes it harder for the other actor. But like sometimes you're acting to a wall, sometimes you're speaking to camera, and so you're pretending it's the other actor. There's a lot of like technical stuff that goes into on-camera acting that people don't really think about. And then in the meantime, you have to feel these really big heavy emotions, not always heavy, but you have to feel these emotions and be vulnerable in front of a camera and a crew and cast of a bunch of other people and make it seem like the most natural thing ever, like this is just your regular life and you're just living. It's really hard to do. So you're not going to be at 110% all the time. Sometimes you might have a moment where like you cut to a character and they look a little dead-eyed. Like, are there some people who that doesn't happen with? Honestly, I don't think so. Are there some people who they have a performance like in a movie or a show where it doesn't happen for them? Yes, that can totally happen. Does it happen for everyone all the time, and is it normal for it to always be perfect all the time? No, that's not normal. Like, it's not going to happen. And I don't even think it's like you being bad at your job. I just think like it's a hard job to do, and that's just one of the things that happens. But other than a couple of moments like that I felt things were a little off or someone was like kind of a little dead behind the eyes, it was just like really incredible acting. And also there were some of these actors in it who like this was one of their bigger, like their first bigger roles ever, or like they'd only done like one more previously before this. Like there's a lot of actors in this that was the case. There were also a lot of actors where it wasn't the case, where like they'd been doing main roles like often. But thinking about like how for some of them it was like their first time to have such a big part, and for probably most if not all of them it was like really difficult because they're following COVID guidelines and that can affect how things work and timing of things. So I'm just really impressed. I was really, 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 really impressed. It was so good. Yeah, those are two really big things that I loved about this show. And how do I introduce this? Speaking of the acting and the casting being perfect, I want to talk about our three main actors. I really did love all the actors in this. I think they all did a very, very good job. But I'm just gonna talk about the three main ones just so like you guys get a better idea if you're listening to this to try and hear about like if you're trying to think of whether to give True Beauty a shot or not. So there are male lead Cha Eun-woo, which is he plays the role of Suho. I think that's how you Cha Eun-woo plays Suho, which is the male lead. I I owe this man an apology. I had only ever seen him act before. Before this, I recently watched a drama with him in it, so I can't say it the only time. But the very first time I saw him act in anything was Rookie Historian. I don't remember her name. Guhae Young, I think. Rookie Historian. Rookie Historian. I think it's still on Netflix. It was on Netflix when it came out. That was the first time I ever saw him act in anything. I knew him as like an idol, but not really an actor. And I knew him because like he's very, very like pretty. Like he's very pretty and like soft and just beautiful and also very tall. And when I saw him act in Rookie Historian, I was like, he's good. Like he wasn't like bad, like glaringly bad in any way. And he wasn't even like bad like in a subtle way. He was good. It was just kind of boring. I felt like he was kind of one-dimensional in it, I think is probably the best way to put it. Not bad, like it didn't make me not like the drama or anything. I still liked it. But I was just like, oh, like he's mostly a pretty face and a little one-dimensional, but like he's not a bad actor. Like he can act like decently enough that it doesn't make me like it. I'm not going to not watch a drama he's in because he's in it, you know, like he's like a decent actor. And then I watched him in Good Day to Be a Dog because I heard about the kissing scenes because of TikTok. Listen, I was intrigued because I was like, how crazy is this that people are talking about it this much? And then I watched it and I was like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. I saw the first kiss and I was like, that wasn't that bad. I was like, whatever. And like I feel like K-dramas are a little bit more generous with the types of kissing scenes that they do now versus like in the past. So I was like, oh, that's not that bad. And then I saw the second one and I was like, oh, this is the one people were actually talking about because it looked crazy. Anyway, and he was good in that one. So I was like, oh, like maybe he's not like what I thought. Like maybe it's just because it was like a really big role and like his first really big role, and that's why in Rookie Historian it wasn't that great. Not that it wasn't that great. It just wasn't like it wasn't like amazing, but it was like it was good. Like it wasn't bad. But then I saw him in Good Day to Be a Dog, and I was like, okay, he's like pretty good. Like actually, like maybe I like oh, it's not that wasn't fair of me to judge him based on just that one thing, and it wasn't. But you know, then I saw him in this, and he's a good actor. Like I don't know what else to say. He's a great actor. Like I shouldn't have been so quick to judge him. He's really good. He's not just a pretty face. He's like a really good actor. What did I write down? Um, is he the most top tier actor ever? No, I don't think he is. But that doesn't mean he's not great. Like he embodies his characters really well. The reason I think I found him so one-dimensional in Rookie Historian, I don't think it was his fault. I think it was just like it's a historical drama. The character he played had to be pretty serious. He had like good moments that were more intense. But mostly he's like the character's kind of one note itself, and so it's not really his fault. Like he did his best with what was given to him, you know what I mean? And I also think it was early on in his acting career, so I give him a little leeway for that. But he embodies his characters really, really well. It's easy for him to dig into these like deep emotions very quickly. I think it's because like I've seen like some stuff of him just like reality shows like in real like well not real life but like on camera reality real life. And he seems like a really big sweetheart and like he has like the biggest heart ever, and I think because he has this well of emotions that's just naturally existing inside of him, it's easier for him to tap into those. And he's like, it's easy for him to be, maybe not easy, but it looks like it's easy for him to be vulnerable on camera, which is an important skill to have as an actor. So kudos to him. Like, I think I was too quick to judge him. Like, I owe him an apology. Like, he's a great actor. And also, I think he plays characters that are like, this is a weird way to put it, but secretly traumatized really well. Like characters that hide the fact that they have like all this trauma. They hide it, not even just from the people around them, but a little from the audience. Like the audience only knows because we know the story. Versus like if you think of like, because I didn't just, but I recently talked about My Demon, like Sung Kong's characters. I feel like are all very obviously traumatized, like not just the one in My Demon, but even his character like in Sweet Home. Like I think he plays those characters like they're very, it's like it's heavy, it's palpable the trauma that they endure, and like everyone around them kind of knows that something's happened. Whereas the characters in Good Day to Be a Dog and in True Beauty, Cha Eun-woo's characters are a little bit more like secretly traumatized. So, like it's not the best way to put it. I don't know. There's probably a word for it, but I can't think of it. But like that's like he plays that kind of character really well. He also played the straight man in, at least in my opinion, I feel like he played the straight man in this show, True Beauty, and in Good Day to Be a Dog, and he did that really well. People don't realize how hard it can be to be the one who's not the funny one in a comedy. It's really difficult because you have to not laugh and you have to be serious, but you can't be boring. It can't be boring. It still has to be exciting in a way. It's just you have to you have to be able to strike that balance correctly, otherwise it's going to come off as like really rude, really boring, no one's going to like your character. Like you still have to be relatable even though you're the straight man and you're the one who's like serious. It's hard to do sometimes, and he does a really good job with that. So I liked him for all of those reasons. I owe him an apology. He's a great actor. The female lead, Moon Ga-young, she is so pretty. She's so pretty and she's so cute. Her little voice is so cute. And I love a pretty girl who isn't afraid to make herself look a little ugly, a little goofy, a little silly, in order to help tell the story or build on a character or for a character. I love a girl who's pretty and isn't afraid to do all of that, and she is down. She is down to do it. She doesn't mind. It's very clear with this character. And then I watched a couple of clips of her in some other stuff. I think I've seen her in stuff, but I just like didn't realize it was her because I'd never seen True Beauty before. And she's done it like before. Like there was another one I was watching. Oh, Welcome to Waikiki season 2. I don't know if she's in season 1. I think she is, and I just did. But the clip I saw was from Welcome to Waikiki 2, which I watched forever ago. I watched both of the seasons forever ago. And and she does like a little karaoke, but like bad, like she's a bad singer, and I don't know if she actually is, but like in the show at least, she's a bad singer. She does bad karaoke, and it's so funny, and it makes her look so silly and crazy and goofy and like bad. Like it makes her look bad, but she's not afraid to do it because it's important to tell the story, and like I love that. I love when a pretty girl is down to do that. Um, I feel like she also can really easily access some of those deeper emotions because she had a lot of scenes where she had to, not that crying is the thing, but crying is like difficult to do. Like it's like exhausting, to be honest. And I feel like it's really hard to do and tap into those emotions when you're on camera and in front of a bunch of other people and to still make it look normal. But she did it like really easily, really quickly. But not just that, like there were other emotions, like she had some complex stuff that she had to deal with for this show in particular. And I thought she handled it really, really well. And also she is just like someone who makes you want to like her, like you want to like her, which is really important when you have someone playing a female lead. You don't want people to not like them. Like the whole like the people who are the leads, like you need people to like them or no one's going to watch your show. If people don't like them, people aren't going to watch your show. So the fact that her character makes you want to like her is really important. Like she's just a likable person, I think. Or the way she plays her characters is really likable. I don't know. But it's easy to like her, and also her character, particularly in this, could come off as very whiny if it's played the wrong way. And in my opinion, I didn't feel like she came off as whiny like ever, like during the show. So that was like impressive. And she also just seems like someone who's very invested in and like cares about and puts importance on like her craft, like acting. Like when I watched behind the scenes videos, she seemed very like having fun, like not that she's like boring and serious all the time, but she's very serious about making sure that like she's doing the story and the character justice, which was like cool to watch. I liked that. um I also just think she has really good comedic timing, and her facial expressions were really good, but they were softer, which was important for this kind of character. Like some people, when they do like big crazy faces, it's very big and like it feels big and it feels loud, and hers felt a lot softer. She could turn it up when she needed to, but I think for this character it was important that they were a little bit on the softer side, just for the story. And then our second lead, Hwang In Yup. I don't know if I'm saying it right. He played Sojun. I am in love with this band. um, he, I don't know where he's been. That's on me. That's my fault that I didn't know where he's been. I should have known who he was and that he existed. He is so good looking. He is so good looking. When he took his helmet off, when he comes on that screen, I he is so good looking. I was like, where has he been? Why didn't I know who he was? Like, I was like, I'm crazy. Like, why did I not know who this man was? Like, are we for real right now? He he's good looking. Yes, yes, obviously. Like you can just look, just open your eyes and you'll see. But he's so funny. He's really funny. He plays his character in the show is a bad boy. He plays the bad boy very well, but this character in particular is not just a bad boy. He's like a bad boy on the outside, but a goofball at heart. In a way that's not like typical. To me it's not typical. Maybe it is typical, I don't know. To me it didn't come off as like the typical like, oh, he's a bad boy but he's got a heart of gold and he's only nice to the girl, like, you know, like that trope. That's not what it was. He's like he's mean and he's a bad boy, but he's also like very kind in like the funniest ways. Like his little group, like his little gang of guys that are in their school, it's so funny because like they all look like they're your typical bully, but they're really just like a big group of nerds. Not even geeks, nerds. They're like nerds, but they're not smart. You know what I mean? I'm like dorks. There's a big group of dorks, and that was so funny and fun to watch. Um, it was like it. I think it's a hard combo to hit to make it not too like, but he was still scary. Like he didn't lose his edge because he had all these goofy dorky moments. He was like still a scary dude. Like he was still intimidating, and I think that's a really hard balance to try and strike correctly. Like that's why I think if this was cast so well, and like I'm sure he did a lot of work and put a lot of effort into making sure the character came across the way it needed to. But like the casting was perfect because I don't know who else they could get to, sorry, I don't know who else they could get to do that. Um, and definitely the castmates helped, like the other people that they cast around him to be his little gang. They definitely helped that. But he just did such a good job. He could very easily have just come across as like the scary gangster bad boy character, but he didn't. Like I think if you put someone else in that position, maybe they could do it with work and time just like he did, but I just like I feel like it'd be really hard to find someone who could do it as well as he did. That he didn't come off as just scary, but he didn't come off as just dorky. He found that perfect balance in between, and he picked his moments very specifically when he would be the kinder, dorkier side of himself and when he would be the scary, intimidating, don't mess with me because if you do, I'm going to mess with you and it's going to be 10 times worse. Um and that was an important part of his character. Like, I really felt like we saw every single side of his character. We didn't lose his initial essence either, which is probably just largely part of, like, Inyop's acting ability. Like, he just did so well with it. Um, he's just funny and goofy, and I think he really complimented Cha Eun-woo's acting and character. Like, putting the two of them together was, like, a perfect choice. And I can't say this because I can't fully remember because I didn't know. I saw him in this and I was like, oh, I'm in love with you. I watched, it's called Young Actors Retreat. It's this reality show that came out a little while ago. It's a bunch of like actors, like Korean actors and different K-dramas. Like, I think they took like 3 different dramas or 4 different dramas. Like the main cast or whoever was available from the main cast came together and like did like an actors retreat. Like they did a little retreat where they all just kind of hung out, played games, and stuff. And he was in it, and I didn't like register that he was in it. You know, that's on me. That's my bad. What I do remember from it and like clips I've seen of behind the scenes stuff and like a couple of clips I saw to remind myself of like, that he was in the Young Actors Retreat. He seems very like shy, which is so cute. And it's just funny to see that versus the character he played. Like, it's very clear that he put a lot of effort and work into becoming this character, but like, there's no way that he could have played this character so well if that also wasn't an innate part of his personality that he just, like, we don't see very often. He's just good. He's good, and he's very good looking, and I'm in love with him a little bit. I didn't get second lead syndrome in this, but I think it's mostly because I was like, oh, he doesn't need to be with her. I'll be with him. Like, I was like, nah. I'll talk more about also the other reasons why I didn't really feel it as heavy, even though some people had complaints about it, in the spoiler section, because those are spoilers. But, yeah, the 3 main actors, all the actors were great. The 3 main actors were perfect. If any of them had been off, it would have thrown off the whole chemistry of the show, and they weren't. So it was just well done. It was really good. Okay, other things that I liked without spoilers. The story. I need to read the webtoon app, the webtoon on the app, because apparently they continued the story past what the show did. Like, the story was still being written after the show finished. The way that the show finished, I didn't mind. The way that it closed out, like, I thought it was nicely done. More on that later. But apparently it kept going and there was like more to the story. And I guess it recently finished, I think, about a year ago. Like about a year from now, like a few months and a year from now, I think it finished. And then like in June of last year, so like 6 months ago, the like book version of the webtoon came out. I think that's what I read. I read an article about it. So it very recently finished. Not very recently, but it pretty recently finished. So I want to like go read that at some point, and then maybe I'll talk about it and compare it to the show. From what little I did read, it definitely starts different. The story structure is a little bit different in the webtoon versus the show. I think the show, from what little I read, so obviously I can't fully speak on it, I think the show adapted it very well in terms of making it a cohesive story for an audience who's watching it versus who's reading it. Because the way you structure a story for like a book and the way you structure a story for like a TV show or even a movie, that's all going to be different. So I think that they did a pretty good job adapting it personally. But again, I haven't read the full webtoon app, so I don't know. But I need to, the webtoon app. I haven't read the full webtoon, so I need to do that, and then maybe I'll talk more about it at a later date. But I loved the story. I really did. It also, this show hits all of the classic K-drama moments and tropes. So I think if you like K-dramas in general, you'll probably just like this show. It doesn't hit them in a way that's like glaringly cliche, but it's cliche because like it's so common. Like they're just cliches, they're tropes. Um, and so if you like K-dramas and you don't mind that, then I think you'd probably like the show. Like, and they're well done. They're not done like poorly. I literally haven't liked a show this much and in this way since I watched Extraordinary You. Um, so it's definitely it's top. It's up there. Extraordinary is literally like an all time favorite of mine. So it's up there. True Beauty. All of the sweet heart fluttering moments, especially in the beginning, there's so many of them, and like I've said before in other podcasts, that the heart fluttering moments are like my favorite thing. And so it made me so happy, like that the like this show hooked me like immediately, because I was like like I was you get a heart fluttering moment like right like in the middle and then at the end of the very first episode, like big ones. I was just like, it was so good. It literally was so good, and I liked it so much to the point that it inspired me to write lyrics and like a melody for like a song. Like I literally have a half written song at this point because of this show, which is insane. Like that's how much, like I was supposed to go to bed, and then I was like it like came into my head, and I was like, I have to do this right now. Like recorded it on my like voice memo app, and then I wrote the lyrics in my notes app so I could look at it and remember it in the morning. But I was just like, this is crazy. It's good. It's just so good. I don't know what else to say. Like, if you like classic K drama stuff, if you like a good rom com, the acting is incredible, the story's good, the casting was perfect, the setting of everything, like it's a really good show. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, you gotta watch it. That's my spiel. I'm going into spoilers now. So if you haven't watched it and you plan on watching it and you don't want spoilers, you need to click away now. I am so serious. I am so serious. I'm so serious. Please click away if you haven't watched. Like, you have to give this show a try. Please. I am begging. Go watch it and come back, okay? It's fine. This video will be here, I promise. Okay, spoilers. I wanted to just go into, like, I'm gonna list a bunch of the classic tropes that happened in this, and you can just take it in. Just take it in with me. There's a love triangle with friends, not just a love triangle. It's with two guy friends. There's a bromance between the two guy friends. They were also friends who had since kind of split and then came back together, sort of towards the end. There's this a school overnight trip. There's the biker bad boy. There's classic bullying moments. There's the trio of friends with a tough girl, a girly girl, and then our female lead. There's like the only thing missing that's like a trope, that's a classic K-drama trope in my opinion, that was missing was a murder aspect, but we still got like parts of that with the whole unaliving of oneself that happened. I'm not gonna, yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. When someone, yeah. We still got some of that, because there were still parts of that that was kind of like, we thought it was very like clear cut, and then it wasn't, and then we like found more details. So we still got some of that, but we didn't have a full murder mystery, you know what I mean? The crossover, there's an Extraordinary You crossover, and then I realized while rewatching the first episode, I was like, wait, I didn't think about it until like I realized it when I watched the first time. I was like, oh, it's the guy, and then like I forgot about it when I was like writing my notes until I watched the first episode again. The guy in Extraordinary You who plays like the like person in the kitchen in the school cafeteria is also someone in the school cafeteria for this. And when I looked it up, I thought it was because the writer of both of the webtoons, because Extraordinary You is also based off of a webtoon, but it's of a different name. But I think it's originally was Chinese. I don't think it was Korean. Maybe it was Korean. I don't know. I thought the author was the same, and that's why there was a crossover, but it wasn't. It was a producer who the producer for True Beauty was also worked on Extraordinary You, so that's why they were able to do some crossovers. But the actor was the same, but the like actual crossover like event part when Undano and I can't remember the character's name, but her second lead for the show they're in the movie theater, and then Cha Woon's character was in the movie theater and thought that it was our female lead and the other guy and his friend, but it wasn't them. It was so good. I just loved it so much. I thought it was so funny. It was cute. It's like a if you know you know kind of moment. It was just cool that I got to get that, and now it makes me want to go back and rewatch Extraordinary You, because I don't know if they did any crossover. Probably not, because True Beauty didn't film until later. Maybe they did though, and it was like a sneak peek preview or something. I don't know, but it makes me want to. It just made me want to go rewatch Extraordinary You. But it was fun. It was cute. I really liked it. I didn't like that when we had the time jump at the very end, like because the last two episodes there was like a time jump. We didn't see a lot of change in Ju Kyung's bare face, because I feel like after 1 or 2 years of knowing like makeup, you would probably have gone into skincare at least a little bit, to the point where I feel like she could have like kind of understood better how to take care of her skin. Because like I feel like the biggest reasons that she was considered ugly were her eyebrows, which we fixed immediately, like that was fine. Her acne and like the redness of her skin, which like redness you can't always fix. Like I have like pretty bad rosacea, and so like if I don't have makeup on, like even when I do have makeup on, you can see it, like the redness. Like I've got a lot of red on my chin and my cheeks and like across here, and then I got a little bit right here, like in my not T-zone, but like right, I'm pointing at it, you can see it. Like the space between my two eyes, in case you're just listening. But my cheeks, like all across my cheeks and my nose a little bit, not too bad. Like all along the bridge of my nose, and then like a little bit under my nose. Like I just have really bad redness. I have bad rosacea in my chin. And then obviously everyone gets acne from time to time. That's not a problem. But that was like one of the big things that was why she was considered ugly. And then her glasses, which like you can just do contacts and you're fine. Like I have glasses, like I have really bad eyes. I just do contacts because not just because I look better without my glasses, but also because like I feel like I can't see when I have my glasses on because my prescription is so bad. Um so obviously some of those things like redness, maybe she wouldn't be able to fix it, but when we see her bare skin, like she just constantly had a ton of acne, and I just feel like in that time jump, like maybe when she's first using makeup, maybe it makes sense that she still has problem, like she hasn't really discovered like skincare and how to take care of her skin. But it was just weird to me that in the 2 years time, especially because she's going to like beauty, like cosmetology, is that what it's called, cosmetology, she's going to beauty school, there's a better word for it. Like I feel like you would have learned at least a little bit, enough that she could have maybe not gotten rid of the redness, because I've been trying to get rid of my discoloration and like uneven redness for like forever, and I still haven't found the right thing for me. There's lots of solutions out there, but you have to find what works for you, you know. Like I feel like that maybe wouldn't be something that she'd been taking care of, but like at least the acne, I feel like it would have been at least more under control. If not, like it's not gonna always be completely gone. People get pimples all the time. Like I've got 3 right now, if you can see it, that I had to cover up. But like I feel like you would have figured out a little bit how to take care of the acne at this point, so that it wouldn't be so as bad as it was when we first saw her with her bare face. And then also like she was going around barefaced a lot more. Like my other thought was, well, maybe it's still bad because she's wearing makeup all the time, but she wasn't. She was wearing more makeup in the beginning before the time jump. So I was like, why is her skin not at least like a little bit better? Like that was crazy to me. I didn't like that. That was the one thing that I was like, why did we not fix that yet? So I just feel like that didn't make sense. The older sister, not going, knowing what was happening with her and not helping her with makeup, like physically hurt me. It made me so uncomfortable. I have a younger sister. Um, like it just made me feel sad. Like it made me. I was like, why does no one in her family understand like that she's going through something so hard right now? Like I was like, what is going on? But then when I thought back to like my actual life, I was like, well, like there's lots of things that like you don't tell your siblings or your parents. Um, and so it makes sense that if she was hiding it, like you wouldn't, like you're dealing with your own stuff in your own life. So I was like, I get it. It still made me sad though. Like as a big sister, I would have felt really guilty if I was her big sister. And then I was like, why didn't she teach her to do makeup? And then I was like, oh, it's like known, like it's a thing that the other siblings, well, obviously one of them's a brother, so he's not gonna teach her how to do makeup because he doesn't know and he's younger. He doesn't know anything yet. But the older sister, I was like, oh well, they're like already conventionally attractive, so the older sister probably didn't have to work as hard and put as much makeup on to like make her face the way that she wanted to, or to express herself with makeup that often. Like she probably was just barefaced most of the time. So I was like, okay, so the older sister probably doesn't know that much about makeup. And also like I didn't teach my little sister how to do makeup. Like I think we both learned the same way, which was like watching like stuff online, like YouTube and stuff like that, because my mom didn't teach me how to do makeup either. Like I just did it, and I didn't do makeup until my like end, like junior year ish and like senior year, and even then it was barely anything when I was doing makeup. I didn't really like do makeup until like maybe my second year of college or so, maybe. Even then, like I still don't do anything like super crazy normally. So like the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, it makes sense the sister wouldn't notice, but it still made me feel guilty. I was like, oh, I feel so bad. um there weren't any moments, like I said before, where I found Ju Young, our female lead, whiny. She never came across as whiny to me, which was great because sometimes that happens, especially with this character. I felt like it very easily could have been like, she's so whiny and annoying, like I don't want to watch this anymore, but it didn't. That's a testament to the writing and to the actor herself. But there were a ton of moments, especially towards middle to the end, like 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 more towards that like last third where I was like, girl, speak up. Speak up. Like, oh my gosh. I was losing it. I was like, there were just moments where I was like, you already know that he likes you. You know that he doesn't like anyone. Like, why are we not? What's happening? Like, it was just so many moments where, like, she just wasn't communicating. And it was just very frustrating to watch. And I understand that, like, that's the part of what makes the story more complicated and interesting is when characters don't communicate. That's a part of why we like watching this kind of stuff. But there were just moments where I was like, oh my gosh, like, please say something, anything, like, speak up. Like, you are not the same girl you were before. Even some moments where she was getting bullied, I was like, oh my gosh, girl. But also, like, I haven't ever been in that situation, or if I have, and I can't think of it, then, like, maybe I wouldn't have spoken up either. So, like, I can't, like, say, it was just frustrating. It was just frustrating to watch. Um, Okay, my last thing for spoilers, because I know I'm already like I like have been talking about this for forever now. Um, People were saying that Sojun, which is the second male lead, had an unhappy ending. Which did he romantically? Yes. A lot of people were really upset about it. Apparently, that's what I read online. A lot of people were like not happy about it. Maybe that's just who was loudest. I don't know. And most people didn't mind. Who's to say? I saw a handful of people at least were not happy with it. I personally didn't mind it. Like I said before, I didn't have second lead syndrome. But I loved him. Like it wasn't like I didn't think he deserved to be with her. Like there I definitely was like, "Oh, it would have been a different relationship." Like there I don't think either of them were better or worse for her. I just think that it would have been a different relationship. I think what was his name? Not Sojun. Suho. I think Suho needed her more than Sojun needed her. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. But because like the police the ending felt okay. The ending felt appropriate to me. I'm just going to read what I wrote so I don't say anything that didn't. Yeah. The ending felt appropriate to me because he's busy with his career, he's getting his old friend back. Um and he has a good relationship with his family and his sister. He now has gained some new friends, some new insight. And so that felt appropriate to me that he didn't get the girl. Whereas with Suho, at least where we left it, that's his name, right? Suho. At least where we left it, he was still kind of reeling from what happened with his father. At least, like, his father's alive now, but it's going to take a long time for his father to get back into the shape that he was. He, like, missed so much school that he's behind all his friends. He's now newly discovering that, hey, actually, I am going to study music. And not to say that it would take him a long time to catch up. It wouldn't. Like, he's canonically, like, very intelligent. So he'd probably easily be able to get into his school. But it was just like, I just felt like he had less going on in his life. And so it was more important for his character to end up with Chugyong versus Sojun, who had like a lot more going for him, in my opinion, not romantically. Um, so it felt happy enough, but also realistic enough. And also, it was very clear from the beginning that Jugyong and Suho were meant for each other. From the fact that when they were even little kids, he liked her and had a crush on her, and she was kind to him. And that like she never really like I didn't feel like she ever like really strayed. Like there were a couple of times where she's like I'm gonna go, like she was like yeah I'll give you a chance when Sojun asked her like at the very end because Suho had been gone for so long and had already broken up with her. But you could tell like it wasn't like she was giving him a chance and she was giving him as fair of a chance as she could, but she still was not over Suho. Like it was just she just wasn't. She was still in love with him. She loved him and that was the one person she was going like it was very clear that she was not going to end up with Sojun. Like that was obvious to me. There wasn't like a twist or anything. Like there wasn't a back and forth. It was like, no, she's gonna be with him because that's who she likes. Like there wasn't ever a moment where I doubted that. And so I think that also kind of lessened the blow a little. But he had so much going for him. And his career, like the career he's going for, it would have been difficult if they did end up together because of like the fan culture that happens and like also just time wise like he'd be so busy because he's just starting out as an idol. Like it'd be crazy to have a girlfriend in that time period, I think. So just it made sense to me. Like it was still sad, I still felt bad for him. And of course I don't know what happens in the webtoon after how the show ended because like I said the webtoon goes on, so maybe there's more stuff that happens that kind of leads to like reason why people were upset that he didn't I don't know, but like I felt, at least in terms of just the show, like just keeping the show in its little capsule, that it was a good ending, like in general, and the most realistic and happiest ending that we could have gotten for him. I didn't like the very end where he had the moment with Jugyong where she's like doing his makeup or whatever right before he goes on stage, and you can tell that he has, like, it's written that you could tell he has feelings for her still. I didn't like that. It made it feel like all of the growth he'd done and what he had accomplished was kind of for nothing. I didn't like that that was the focus. I didn't like that. It made it feel like unfinished, which then I saw people speculating online like, "Oh, because there's more webtoon, they left it open so that way they could continue where they could continue." Sorry, there were sirens again. I hope everyone's okay. They could continue where the webtoon continued, like they left it open so that way they could do another season and it would continue with what the webtoon had like finished up, and like maybe there'd be one more season, and that's why they did it. Like, I get it if that's the reasoning behind it. I get it, but I just didn't like that. I didn't like it. I thought it was like kind of undermining all of the progress he'd made as a character. And also, like, in contrast to the two girls, I didn't like that the girls fought over the guy. I didn't like that. I can't even remember her name. Sujin? I think her name was Sujin. Unless I'm in the middle of another show right now, so like maybe that's, hopefully I'm not confusing. I think her name was Sujin. Um, Sujin and Jugong fighting over Suho. I hated that. But it made, like, it worked. It worked for the story. It had to be there. I just don't like seeing girls fighting over a guy. I don't like it. It's not fun for me. But it made sense for the story. But she just took it so far. And it was like, oh, for her in the moment, the guy was more important. But you can tell for Sojun that their friendship was more important to him. Especially because they'd lost their previous friend. And then he lost this friend too because he thought he was, the whole thing. Like, if you know, because this is a spoiler part. Because like he blamed him for it when really like it wasn't anyone's fault really. He'd lost both of his friends and now he's finally getting a friend back, and then they have this other conflict where they both are interested in the same girl, but it's like very obvious that like the girl's into only one of them and they're like gonna be together, and like I think Sojun, like with everything going on in his life, will be able to move on from her. Yeah, so there was the contrast to that, but I didn't like that they then at the very end were like, oh, he's still into her, and I was like, like, I get it if they were leaving it open, but I just didn't like it personally. Yeah, okay. No more spoilers, no more spoilers, no more spoilers. Okay. I recommend this drama with my whole heart. If you have not seen it yet, if you're late to the bus like I was, please go watch it. Please go watch it wherever you can. I watched it on Viki. There's probably other places you could see it. That's just where I watched it. You could watch it on Viki for, I think for like the regular I don't know. I have the regular pass for Viki right now. Go watch it. Please go watch it if you haven't watched it. Especially if you like rom-coms. Especially if you like K-dramas just in general. Like rom-com-y K-dramas. Cheesy, typical, cliche K-dramas. It is cheesy and cliche, but it's also very good. The story is very well written. The acting is incredible. The casting was perfect. Like, I don't really have that many bad things to say about the show. Like, really barely anything. And they're nitpicky things. They're not anything crazy. It's so good. Please do yourself a favor. Please go watch it. Even if rom-coms aren't your favorite, I think the story is just really good. Like, I would recommend it. If you at least watch the first 2 or 3 episodes. And if you're not hooked, then okay, fine. You didn't like it. That's fine. But go try it. It's so good. The reason it's hyped is for, like, it's hyped for a good reason. That's why a lot of people like it, because it's really, really good. My TLDR, what I learned from the drama. Not really what I learned, what was reiterated, I guess. Everyone is beautiful. Everyone is beautiful. Truly, everyone is beautiful. It's so funny to me that I ever thought that I was ugly. because here's the thing. Beauty truly is in the eye of the beholder. Like, now I'm like, oh, I'm cute. Like, I feel cute. Does my hair look the best today? Well, I didn't really style it, so it's fine. Like, it doesn't look bad. But, like, I could have done more with it. Sure. Are my bangs a little long? Yes. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think I'm cute now. Thankfully. Thank goodness. I've got my confidence. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Everyone is beautiful. There's always going to be someone out there who finds you beautiful. There's always going to be someone out there who finds you ugly. That's just how it is, because everyone's standards for beauty are different. Of course, there are societal set standards, but those aren't even standards because they're different depending on what part of the world you're in, what part of the state you're in, it can be different. Like the people around you, like it's different everywhere. So even though there are like standards and there may be people who like there isn't anyone who's universally agreed upon as like good looking. Like it's just not gonna happen because standards are different for everyone. What everyone finds beautiful is different. Like it's just not gonna happen. So if you think you're ugly, there's someone out there who thinks you're beautiful. Probably a lot of people out there who think you're beautiful. So I implore you to please find at least one thing. Start with one thing. Find one thing that you find beautiful or attractive about yourself and see if it can grow from there, and then you can find your whole being beautiful. But also like the true beauty, not to be cliche, but the true beauty, the title of the show, the true beauty is the person that's underneath everything. Like obviously, yes, I find myself, I now thankfully have the confidence that I'm like, oh, I'm cute, like I'm good looking. But also the person that's underneath is now someone that I actually like and like I like being with myself because I like myself. The person, the personality, the thing that's underneath, like don't like truly don't judge a book by its cover. Personality is like what's important, like the kind of person you are, the morals you have. That's the true beautiful part of a person. The outsides you can change. You can change, you can manipulate. The insides are what's important. But that doesn't, that's not to say that being beautiful on the outside, especially in your own opinion, is beneficial and good for you as a human and just as a person. Like finding the beauty in like of your inside personality and also your outside, I think that's really, really important. And I think the most important thing is like your opinion of yourself matters the most. Why would you let someone who really has no say in your life and what you do with your life and how you act affect you so much more than your own opinion does? Your opinion of yourself is what matters the most. It doesn't matter what other people are saying, right? As long as you're not hurting anyone else or hurting yourself, you like what matters is you being you and loving you for who you are. Again, I really implore you to find at least one thing that you like and love and find beautiful about yourself, both inside and out, and you can grow from there. You can go from I hate myself, I don't like anything about myself, to I love myself, I'm a beautiful person, I'm a beautiful human. You can do it. I've done it. I did it. Do I still have moments where I go back and I'm like, oh, I hate myself, or oh, I don't like who I am, or like, yeah, of course. Who doesn't? I think you're crazy if you say you never feel like that. But the point is, the more that you build yourself up, the more it becomes more natural to just do it without even thinking about it. Um, find the beauty in yourself, find the beauty in the world, find the beauty in those around you, and it'll make everything, I think, a little bit better. I just think it makes life a little bit easier and a little more enjoyable. Yeah, that is the true beauty. The true beauty is finding the beauty in yourself and inside of yourself, not just your outward appearance, I think. Yeah. It's important. It's a good. This show made me cry a lot, and made me like reflect on like who I used to be and who I've become at this point. Um, yeah, yeah, that's all. That's all. I don't want to get even more deep than I already have. So, thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, morning, evening, night, weekend, weekday, whatever it may be for you. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I will see you next time. Love, Mikaela. Bye.